All right, the Crimean War. Here we go. Crimea River. You've probably heard that, or someone's like Crimea. Well, where is Crimea? Okay, it's in the Black Sea. It's in the Moldova area. It's still very hot in the news today. The Russians have just recently reinvaded it quite a few years ago. It's again, history is not was. Or my other favorite saying is, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, as Mark Twain said. All right, so let's talk about this. Failed. What's the Eastern question? I would know that. What is the Eastern question? The Eastern question is the Ottoman Empire. Remember that empire full of furniture? That's what it is, and it's over in the East. They're Muslims, and it's falling apart. Remember, the Ottoman Empire doesn't. That's one thing about it. Keep this in mind, Americans, and all of us. We should, as Americans. It doesn't just cease. Like the Nazi Empire ended on May 7th, 1945. It's done. They surrender. It's done. They're gone, which is good. Great. But the Ottoman Empire slowly falls apart. It's from like 1285 to 1918 or something like that. But it doesn't just end in 1918. It's been slowly since the 16th, 17th, 1800s falling apart, losing land, losing influence, and all of this. So, kind of like the Roman Empire. Something to keep in mind. It doesn't just happen overnight, okay? And so as this Eastern Empire falls apart, the Eastern question, the world looks at it and is worried. Hey, what's going to happen? And check out this second line. Russia invaded Turkey for the rights to protect Christian shrines in Palestine. Oh, man, we'll come back to that. France and England invade. It's a poorly fought war. 250,000 people are killed, mainly from disease. If you want to investigate something further or learn something, look up Florence Nightingale. I don't have time to talk about everything in an online class, okay? But she's an amazing person. Lady with a lamp, she's called. And basically, long story short is, I always screw this up, but she's the first, really, basically the first to ever say, hey, this guy in this bed, what did he die of? Oh, cholera. Okay, and then you brought a guy in with a stab wound in his arm? What did he die of? Cholera. Oh, okay. How do you think he got that? From the stab wound? I don't know. And she's the first to really say, you got to start changing these bed sheets. You got to use different bandages. You can't reuse this stuff. Okay, so fascinating. She's very influential. Any nursing majors I have out there, anyone whose parents are nurses or doctors, very influential in what we see today in sterilization, nursing, doctor, things like that. It's fascinating. What you want for the why of the Crimean War is at the bottom. It destroys the concert of Europe. Remember we just talked about that? Austria and Russia become mortal enemies over this right here. Whereas before, they were partners. They were partners. Remember Austria, Russia, Prussia, and Great Britain. And because it's the crumbling of the Ottoman Empire, and this is a direct link to World War I. Excuse me, my sinuses. You guys, yeah, sorry about that. Russia. What do you guys know about Russia? Well, if you're from my generation, you're like, damn commie bastards. You know, trying to take over the world, but now we don't think of that, right? It's a terrorist that we're all out. But there's always an enemy. So what you don't know is, and I'm about to teach you, is, are you ready? Hold on to it. Pre-1917 or 18, before the Russian Revolution that we'll talk about later, Russia is the largest Christian country on the face of the earth. Whoa, hold on, what? That's right. I wrote my entire life, born in the 1970s. And through the 80s and 90s, what are we told? The Russians are bad. They're godless commies. Always have been. The Soviet Union, which there's some truth to that. That's the main thing they throw off in their revolution is religion. But pre that, Russians are extremely religious, and they're Christians. And they're Eastern Orthodox. I hope everyone remembers my talk about this. Yeah, I try to tie things together so that you understand. And I'm really sorry about my sniffing here. Allergies are killing me. And so Russia is extremely concerned about the Christian shrines. They're fighting Turkey because Turkey is the main country of the Ottoman Empire in Palestine. What is Palestine and what are Christian shrines? Well, I'm going to make this quick. Palestine is basically, in general, just remember all this is in general, what the world calls Israel today. And what it is this land of the Holy Land. It's not exactly Israel. Part of it has to do with Lebanon. Part of it has to do with Egypt. Some of it's in Syria. But it's in general, to make things easy to understand, Israel. So I'm going to make this quick and short for you. If you can see the baby Jesus line, pre-baby Jesus, somewhere around the 11 or 1200s on the pre-baby Jesus side, historians believe there are a group of people who call themselves Jews, and they do indeed name a land around this area. Again, the borders aren't exactly perfect. Just keep that in mind. They name it Israel, after their God and their king, David and Solomon and all this. Everybody got it? And that lasts until, it's not always, We're not going to go into this. Nebuchadnezzar burns it in 587. All these different times. Alexander the Great goes there and burns it, and all these things. But finally, what happens is in 70, post baby Jesus, 70. So now the other side, the Romans finally, under Titus, finally destroy Jerusalem for good, and they want to get rid of all these Jews. They burn the temple. It's a fabulous story that you'll hear in my on-ground class that I teach. Again, time is always a constraint. The quick story is, you remember Moses' brother Aaron? If you guys went to Sunday school, he went in. Remember, he touched the sleeve of one of the Holy of Holies or whatever, and it supposedly turned him into sand and killed him. The Holy of Holies of there. This is where the Jews go in to pray, and only the high priest can go there. And Titus actually walks into it. Titus is a commander. It's either him or his commander. It doesn't matter. But they actually go up to the Holy of Holies, and you can see the Jews stand there. They're all being restrained. This is our holy ground, our religious area. And Titus walks into the Holy of Holies. Imagine the Jews just, their glee of like, oh, he just turned to salt and dust on, and Titus walks out. Man, that would be like a big bummer, huh? Like, oh, right? Because, they truly believe all their biblical stories, their religion, and to see someone break that rule and not die from it would be crushing, I guess. So they burn it and they destroy Jerusalem. Long story short, it's too late. They then sacrifice a pig on the altar to really disgrace the Jews, because Jews don't eat pig because it's got a cloven hoof and it's dirty, which I think is crazy because they taste so good. Sorry. And they rename the area after the Jews' mortal enemy. David was one. Philistia, or the Philistines. And when you translate that to English, you get Palestina or Palestine. And it is then called Palestine until when? 70 post baby Jesus. You got it until 1948, after the 7 day, not the 6 Days War, after the war for independence in Israel. So look that up if you want more of that, but it's fascinating to think. What I'm trying to say is this: today we think Palestine, that's, most Americans would say bad. That's like terrorism and stuff. It's not even close. It's called Palestine for 2,000 years. It's controlled by Christians, Jews, Arabs, Muslims, different people all the time of all kinds of religions, and a very peaceful place. Many would argue until 1948. So it's a very confusing topic. So, Crimean War, don't forget it. Now, what are these holy shrines? Well, we're going to make it real quick on this. It is called the Temple Mount. Right there it is. The entire area is known as the Temple Mount. You can see a red arrow over to the left pointing down. That's the Wailing Wall. You can obviously see this massive mosque in the middle. That is the Dome of the Rock. The Alaska Mosque is right below it. That's the second holiest site in Islam. And over to the left, there's a little blue, it's hard to see, but directly across from the Dome of the Rock to the left, and that is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So there they are again. There's the sepulchre over behind it right there. Okay, and those are those holy sites of all those religions. And the point is, they need protected even today. Who can go visit these? I'll make it easy for you. Israel is in control of them today for the most part. I would argue they have the final say, but they're actually respectful in ways. And it's a long story of the Arabs actually control some of them and open them up every morning. But today, I'd say it's fairly peaceful is what I would argue. People can go and visit. And that's what these people want, in case you don't understand. Hopefully you do, right? When the Ottoman Empire falls apart, the question becomes, hey, who's going to watch over these areas and allow people to go there to visit them? So if you can't understand that, let me put it in ways you can understand it. Imagine if America fell apart and the empire was crumbling. People would say, hey, what about Yosemite? Someone's got to protect that. We want Yosemite to be kept nice. Hey, what about New York City? Everybody understand? We want to see these things. The Mississippi River, someone's got to control these, so they're moving in for power. A pastor, a priest, and a rabbi walk into a bar. All right, nationalization, unification. How am I going to do Germany in 5 minutes? I don't know. Two countries unify. It's Germany and Italy. We don't care about Italy, but we care about Germany, and there it is. This guy right here, Otto von Bismarck, arguably the most important German figure between Luther and Hitler. Well, read that again. Arguably the most important German figure between Luther and Adolf Hitler. Holy smokes, are you listening to that? The most important German figure between Martin Luther, 1517, that changes the world, we've already talked about, and Adolf Hitler. Okay? He's appointed, and what he does, Bismarck comes around and basically says, hey, all this liberal rhetoric that you guys have, independence, look at it, not by speeches and majorities will the great questions of the day be decided. That was the mistake of 48 and 49, but by iron and blood. And he says, I'll tell you how we will do this. We will unite everybody under one Germanic rule, that are Germans, and we will rule the world. Hey, wait, oh, good God. What do the Nazis call their reign? You've got it, the Third Reich. What's that tell you implicitly? Oh, your brain is moving right now. I'm running out of time. The Second Reich. There was a First Reich. Well, I'm going to make it quick for you. Here's the Second Reich right here. So again, Adolf Hitler, the Nazis, they're doing nothing original. They're only following their historical roots. Why was Trump elected? To me, it's so simple. He just struck back on the rhetoric of Make America Great Again, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, make it great, we can be American, blah, blah, all this, and we fall for it, and people vote for him. It's fine. Everybody understand? And it's the same thing Hitler does. He starts the Third Reich. Here's the second. It goes from 1870 to 1918, not quite 1,000 years. And what Reich means in German is 1,000-year reign. And the first 1,000-year reign is from a guy called Charlemagne. And he doesn't reign. It's not like he lives for 1,000 years. But someone under his family, under his empire, rules the Germanic areas for 1,000, my brain is dead, when Napoleon crushes it, 1,014 years or so. Okay, and we'll get to that in a minute. So Bismarck, Otto von Bismarck, be sure to know him. Oh, I used to make a good joke in class about this, but I have to let it go. Okay, see it? All these areas that are on, he says, those are Germanic areas. I need to reunite them. And what happens when they reunite? You got it, a world war. That's what Germans do best. Okay? Who do they go to war with? Who do they hate the most? I've already told you this. I mean, that's why when Hitler comes to power and they don't know about it, it's a joke. They've already had this 1870. It's funny how they call it a year-long war. It's like 4 months, 6 months, and the Germans just destroy the French. They crush them. They absolutely crush the French. Okay, the Alsace-Lorraine area is taken back. Lorraine, a little Back to the Future. It's right there on the yellow left-hand side, middle of the map. Alsace-Lorraine, highly fought-over area. Emperor Napoleon III is deposed. The Second Empire is destroyed, and the French declare the Third Empire. So again, the French have no idea what they're doing. French have to pay 5 billion francs in this. This should really ring a bell, because what are the French going to do to the Germans at the end of World War I? They're going to punish them so harsh with a treaty that's going to destroy them to bring around Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. So the point of this is you're seeing the death of a French empire, the birth of a German empire. Look at that. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. There you go. German soldiers at the Arc of Triumph in 1870. It's obviously a painting when they take it. And there it is. German soldiers in 1940 when they invade France, and they take France in 42 days. Okay? German unification means triumph of authoritarian militaristic values over liberal constitutional sentiments. So what you see is, you see the world going in two different ways here, is what you see. Okay? Two different distinct ways. One, you could call more of a liberal. That's right, America absolutely is liberal at the time in those terms. Freedom, individual rights, very limited, but heading that way. Whereas, and we're digging in our heels that way, but Europeans, many of them, like the Germans, like the Italians, like the Austrians, are digging their heels in, going the opposite way, and they are digging into a conservative, original tradition. Now, finally, this painting is pretty cool. Here's what happens. The Germans go. You can see Bismarck there. They go and they call in the French to the treaty of Palace of Versailles, as I call it, and they force the French to sign this humiliating treaty in the palace that gives up tons of France and makes them pay all this money. Wait, my story gets better. What do you think happens at the end of World War I? You got it. The French call the Germans back, and they don't even let them in the Palace of Versailles. They make them sign in a caboose. Do you get it? A caboose? Their asses? The ass of the train? And they make the Germans sign the most humiliating treaty in the history of the world, the Treaty of Versailles, that strips Germany of everything. Wait. My story gets even better. What do you think the Nazis do when they conquer France in 42 days in World War II? Yeah, they go back and they sign a treaty. They don't go into the castle again. They sign it, and then Hitler has the Gestapo dynamite the railroad caboose that the Germans signed to surrender in. Oh, a sense of humor in history. I love it. Okay? I think there's some story that maybe they wanted to blow up the Castle of Versailles, but if you don't know, Hitler was a huge art lover, and so he would never, ever do that. Okay, hope this lecture has helped. It's actually a really good chapter, and I'm looking forward to what we talked about with the Industrial Revolution also. Okay, see you.